As society has developed and advanced, people have lost connection between the final product and what needs to be made. What I want to focus on today is something we all use every day that covers us, keeps us warm, and protects us from the elements. Clothing has been a staple of society since its birth. Although there have been many material changes throughout time, one thing has propelled cotton textiles. People over time have lost a connection between the raw materials and the final product. A perfect example of this was my cousin a couple months ago. I showed him a cotton bowl, and he didn't know what it was. He thought it was the wool that came from a sheep, which is completely wrong. It comes from a plant. Cotton textiles have been used for thousands of years, prevailing even in modern times with the development of synthetic fibers. To make things quick and simple, a summary of cotton harvest is that you first start with a seed, which I got an example here. Sorry for the container, it's the best thing. You want to see? Just press it around. You start with the seed, put it in the ground, let it germinate, and as it starts germinating, you first start seeing the squaring, which is the development of the flower buds. Then that goes into what we call candling, which is the unopened flowers, which then get pollinized as once they open and become bolls. And as the bolls mature, the fiber starts to mature itself. Now here comes the crazy part. The fiber itself is just an epidermal cell, which which elongates up to 1200 to 1500 times the length of the width of the actual cell, which is honestly crazy in my opinion. Something can get that long from one little point. So I guess once to have a successful harvest, along the way you cultivate, spray for pests, and defoliate and irrigate as needed. In modern times, you use a cotton picker to harvest cotton, which has spindles, which are basically like just spikes with teeth on them, which catch the cotton off the plant, and then those spindles have a pad next to them that releases the cotton and it gets blown into the back of the picker. That's where you have two options. If you have modern equipment, it gets turned into round bale, which then gets sold to the gins. Or if you have the older style equipment, you it gets collected in a basket. You then dump that basket into a module builder, which is basically just a big old press that makes rectangle bales, which then gets sent off to the gin. Processing of the seed cotton starts with the ginning that separates the fibers from the seeds. These fibers are, like I said, 12, at least 1200 times longer than the width, and are mainly composed of cellulose, which is gives it its strength properties, but also it makes it lightweight and breathable. These fibers are then passed through cleaners that remove mainly the leaf residue that's left over from harvest. As when you start picking it, you have all the leaves that are dried up from the defoliation tend to like used to get crushed and turn into small particles that get stuck to the fibers and get harvested with the cotton. So the cotton passes through the cleaners and then it comes out relatively clean after a couple passes, and then you further clean it once you to have it to good standard. And then after that, you have two separate parts: the fiber and the seed cotton, or correction, the I guess just cotton seed with fuzzy seed, which is then so acid diluted using, in my experience from the cotton improvement lab, 90% sulfuric acid, which is what we got right there. And you're gonna pass it around. I pass it around para que bien. That's enough acid. Once you in that seed can then be used to plant it or can be treated for to have a higher chance of germination. For once you get the fibers, to spin the fibers into the jar, you must first align the all the fibers into parallel to be parallel from each other in a process called carding, which further cleans the fibers from any contamination and makes a loose sliver of aligned fibers. This sliver is then spun into what you get to know as the yarn. In two modern, I guess two semi-modern processes. First, you got the older process, which is ring spinning. That process has been just for quite a while now. It's been pretty successful. It's relatively cheap to a certain degree in terms of capital needed to get equipment of that type, but the machines are a little slow compared to this process. With the other machines, though, you do get more uniform thread or yarn and also strength. With the modern time, you got vortex spinning, which just uses air to spin the fibers. This is a lot faster. It can be like close to 4 to even 10 times faster, but you do get that uneven thread thickness or yarn, I guess, quality, and you get a weaker yarn because you don't only just get parallel fibers. You sometimes get fibers that are crossed and just wrapped around and don't add any strength to the actual yarn. So that's, I guess, a con. I guess the last part of making the textile out of the yarn is depends on the, I guess, the yarn thickness, whatever, depending on the machine you got of the. Once you get to make the yarn, you can adjust the tension in there to make thicker yarns or thinner, more fine, stronger yarns. And then with that, you depending on the weave you use, you get different textiles, and you can go from denim to plain old cotton shirt. And in conclusion, the steps it takes to make the cotton textiles are long and complicated. Many times people don't even realize their clothes come from what the clothes come from and what it takes to transform them into raw materials.